From their own manager not believing in them,
being the worst team, maybe, in history of Manchester United,
to cheering their own players being subbed.
I thought it was disgusting from some of the Manchester United fans cheering him coming off.
From overspending on mid-players to cutting donations to charities. Goalies that can't save a PDF.
Onana, if you are one of the worst goalkeepers in Man United history, you need to take care what you are talking,
Conceding directly from corners. A manager depressed. Manchester United is a story on its own.
And this is a very average level at United, are performing at week in, week out. And that's why
Even their new stadium looks like a circus. So how did the theater of dreams become the theater of clowns? For newer fans, this might be hard to believe, but Manchester United used to be the most dominant club in the world. They had won 20 Premier League titles and were the first club in the history of English football to achieve the treble. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, they ruled the world. They had superstar warriors like Wayne Rooney, Cristiano Ronaldo. Now they have Højlund. Ever since Ferguson's departure, United completely lost its elite status, at least in the footballing world, because they still generate revenue like they're an elite club. But on the pitch, they have not been taken seriously as title contenders for over a decade and consistently bounce in and out of the Champions League. From a managerial merry-go-round to terrible recruiting to constant drama, United have lost their identity. I have read the autobiographies of the managers that came after Ferguson, and I have found all the secrets on what actually went wrong in Manchester United's dressing room and how United went from a club of superstars to a club in crisis. When Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge, Man United were on top of the world. In 1993, United won the first ever Premier League title. Then a year later, they won it again, alongside an FA Cup, to complete the first double in the club's history. United then became the first English club to do the double twice when they won both competitions again in 1996, before retaining the league title once more in the 1997 season, with a game to spare, by the way. In the 1998-1999 season, United continued their dominance to all of Europe, where they became the first team to win the Premier League, FA Cup, and the Champions League, the treble. The grip they had on the Premier League was ridiculous. The grip they had on the world of football was ridiculous. Manchester United won the league again in the 1999-2000 season and the 2000-2001 seasons, becoming only the fourth club to win the English title 3 times in a row at that time. Back then, even if United had a season like how they went trophyless in 2002, they would recover and win it back the next year. The dominance was crazy, and they actually had a hunger to stay on top. They were resilient, they were hungry to win, which is pretty much the exact opposite of what we see from United now. Back then, it was rare for United to have a bad season at all. Now it's a miracle if they can string together 2 successful wins. I saw a joke that said that the United website is down because they can't string together 3 W's. I'm taking full credit of that joke, by the way. Under Mourinho, United finished second in the Premier League in 2018. But guess what happened in the 2018-2019 season? They finished 6th. Under Ten Hag, United won the Carabao Cup and finished 3rd in the league, only to finish 8th the next season. They surprisingly won the FA Cup that season, but at what cost? The team ended up finishing in the bottom half of the table in the next year in 2025. The mentality at the club is drastically different from where it used to be. In the 2023-2024 season, United had just 1 win against the traditional Big Six. Just 1. Then just when you thought it couldn't get even worse, United found themselves in the lower half of the table for pretty much the entire 2025 season. No United manager had reached 5 home losses in fewer home games in Premier League history than Amorim. They were so bad that Amorim himself said that this is the worst Manchester United in history.
being the worst team, maybe, in history of Manchester United. We have to acknowledge that and to change that.
This came after a 3-1 loss to Brighton, which had left United in 13th place. It was their 6th home Premier League defeat of the season, their most from their opening 12 home matches of a league season since 1893-1894. Yes, you read that right. You have to go back to the 1800s to find a worse start for the Red Devils, back when the main method of transportation were horses. There is a reason that a month before that, Amorim had stated that United were in a relegation battle.
Being drawn into a relegation battle, though, just 7 points above the bottom 3.
That is really clear, and we have to fight. It's a really difficult moment, one of more difficult moments in the history of Manchester United, and we have to address it with honesty and to be clear with that. We have to fight next game.
What's worse than the results is the performances. Sure, they can squeeze out some wins from a late winner, but they genuinely look like a championship side at times. Now that isn't Amorim's fault. You got players making boneheaded mistakes, almost forgetting the fundamentals of football. At times, you can see the passages of play that the Portuguese is trying to instill, but the quality of the individuals holds the play back. They will get into a good position using the fullbacks in the 3-back system, but then the ball will drop to Garnacho, who's allergic to passing. Or the ball drops to Højlund, who misses an easy chance. United single-handedly reminded the footballing community what the term Olympico is. Had they not conceded 2 goals directly from a corner in the same week, with 2 different goalies, we would not have remembered that there is a term for scoring directly off a corner kick. What's the most concerning about United is they somehow keep getting worse. Every time you think they've hit rock bottom, they dig a little deeper. I think people expected a little bit of a new manager bounce when Amorim came in, and it looked like maybe it's starting after that win against City. But nope, every week is a new low point. It's gone so bad that all the previous managers look even better in retrospect. United thought they were in a bad spot with Mourinho, but a second place finish, a European title, that's fantastic. Most fans would give up their left nut for that again.
That I consider one of the best jobs of my career, to finish second with Manchester United in the Premier League. You say this guy is crazy.
Then under Ole, it seemed like things couldn't get worse. But you look back, they won some big games in the Champions League, played some nice football. I think a lot of United fans remember that match against PSG vividly. The team was also much better in the league. It seemed like a foundation was being built before the transfer window that brought in Mr. Ronaldo, Sancho, and Varane. Even Ten Hag's time will look good in a few years. People will be like, damn, this guy won the Carabao Cup, beat City to the FA Cup, got United Champions League football. Having said that, I have always seen the league as the most important metric in judging a manager. The league rewards longevity and consistency. You can't luckily win the league or get second place. But in a cup, you can certainly go on a lucky run. This was proven by Ten Hag, as the season following the FA Cup win was a disaster. I'm telling you guys, that FA Cup win held United back in the long term. It delayed Ten Hag's sacking, which caused further damage to the club because he ended up bringing in the players that he wanted in the summer. After so many different losses under the bald Dutchman, it seemed like surely the team can't get worse. Yet the form under Amorim was somehow even worse. Literally the only place below them was relegation. They were just lucky that the newly promoted teams were so bad that the threat of relegation was basically gone. What allowed United to have so much longevity and success during their glory days was their competitive mentality. They maintained this by recruiting well and creating a stable culture at the club through the youth system. United broke the transfer record multiple times, but they did it on quality players. United broke the English transfer fee record over the summer of 1993 by signing Roy Keane. It was incredible recruiting, as Roy Keane became one of the greatest midfielders to ever play in the Premier League. Shocker, right? They spent a lot of money, but actually got a good player. That's a very rare sight for United these days. Then in 2001, United broke their club transfer record again, signing Ruud van Nistelrooy, another quality player. Van Nistelrooy ended up scoring 150 goals over the next 5 seasons. Big money signing, but big performances. The money was buying quality. That's what you want to see. And then I don't even have to say anything about this signing. Signed him as a highly sought after youngster, he left as the best player in the world. But when you look at United now, they constantly overspend on mid players. First, they spent 95 million euros on the fidget spinner because Ten Hag wanted his Ajax boys. I know Anthony found good form at Betis, but number one, even those performances don't justify the fee that was paid for him. And number two, of course he's going to look better when he leaves United. Then they spent a ton of money on Højlund, Onana, and Mason Mount. A transfer window that I think will go down as one of the worst ever for any club. When you look at how much was spent and how badly these players have performed, it's literally a summer of the worst recruiting possible. Pound for pound, Mason Mount might be one of the worst signings of all time when you look at how often he was actually available and his performances when he did play. Onana was brought in as this revolutionary signing to elevate United to the next level because he was a ball-playing goalkeeper. Yet he has consistently cost the team games. And what's worse is that many of his mistakes have come from him trying to play out of the back, an area of his game that was supposed to be his strength. So they went and brought a goalie that was a worse shot stopper than the guy they had before in De Gea, and now he's making more mistakes with his feet than De Gea ever did. Meanwhile, De Gea, the guy they tried to scapegoat, went to Fiorentina and was playing pretty well. Back in the day, if United spent a lot of money on a striker, they were getting a proven talisman. Now they are paying huge sums of money for raw, unproven players like Højlund and Xerxes. Like, Xerxes is not a bad player, but he has a very unique profile. So when you purchase him, you better have the system to help him succeed. Otherwise, it just looks like a stupid signing. In 2002, when the club broke the national transfer record to sign a player, they were getting someone like Rio Ferdinand, one of the best young defenders in the world, someone who helped Manchester United win another Premier League title. Now when United spend that much money, they go and get a player like Harry Maguire. Again, no disrespect to Maguire, I think he's much better than the people who make memes about him, but in no way, shape or form is this an £80 million worth defender. The pool recruitment really has been one of the biggest issues at the club. I understand that you can't get every transfer right. Even Ferguson missed, like when they signed Sebastian Veron. But look at the track record overall. Way more good signings than bad. The players that United spent a lot of money on became the best in the world. When United spend money now, the player loses half of his value just in the first season. It's like buying a new iPhone. As soon as you buy it, it becomes worthless because Apple just releases a new version. This is also how DiCaprio feels when the girl he's dating turns 25. One of the biggest reasons that United signings used to work in the glory days was that they had a strong culture within the club. A big part of setting this winning culture was developing the youth. Manchester United's class of '92 were a group of players who dominated at the youth level before becoming the backbone to the United first team. The 6 players were David Beckham, Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs, Gary Neville, Phil Neville, and Paul Scholes. Beckham put in the 2 corners that helped United defeat Bayern Munich in the 1999 Champions League final. Gary Neville became one of the best right backs to grace the Premier League. Don't let his poor punditry takes and the fact that he downplays himself take away from the fact that he was a very solid right back. You don't play week in, week out and captain that Manchester United side by being a bum player. Paul Scholes, in many people's eyes, is the greatest central midfielder to ever play in England. Some even make the argument that he's the best central midfielder ever. To have players become this good from your own youth academy is so important to the progress of the club. It's like buying the stock of Apple rather than the phone. Or in DiCaprio's case, getting an 18-year-old straight out of college. These guys understood the club's values and were able to pass on the ideas to new players. An article by Harvard Business stated that Ferguson recruited what he called bad losers and demanded that they work extremely hard. Over the years, this attitude became contagious. Players wouldn't accept their teammates not giving it their all, essentially looking for players who hated losing more than they loved winning. The biggest stars were no exception. It's not just that they were incredibly talented, they also understood what it meant to represent Manchester United. Recently, United has had some promising young talents emerge like Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho, but the culture isn't the same.
Bruno! Come on!
And I feel like United fans are so desperate for a young talent that they begin to overrate the guys they do have. Prime example being Garnacho. But the quality of the players doesn't matter because the culture is nowhere near what it was during United's golden years. How can there be a consistent culture within a club when the manager is changing almost every single season, each one with their own unique philosophy and style of play? So whenever they get sacked, the next manager has to spend a year just getting rid of players that he didn't want to bring in his own. Amorim is having to deal with that right now. It's an endless cycle. But you know what's not an endless cycle? Getting a Man United jersey off buygamejerseys.com and having it forever. Use code PETTALKS at checkout for a discount. Culture is one of the things that I've noticed the most in all the books that I've read of these managers. All of them have struggled to match the culture of the Ferguson era. And even though United haven't been good in years, the pundits, former players, and certain fans still have high expectations based on the levels that United used to be at.
This is one of the most poorly coached teams in the Premier League. That's a fact. That's not an opinion, that's a fact.
The cycle has continued year after year, making it impossible to have any sort of consistency. Just listen to how Cristiano Ronaldo described the atmosphere within the club.
What's going on, but since the Sir Alex Ferguson left, I saw not evolution in the club. The progress was zero.
And Ronaldo is the best person to be able to talk about the change in culture as he has seen both sides. He was playing under Ferguson when they won the Champions League in 2008 and were winning Premier League titles for fun. Now, the club is a shadow of itself. You got former players commenting freedom on each other's posts, now that they aren't at United anymore. The nickname Freedom Fighter for Sancho still kills me. The situation at the club has become so toxic over the years that pretty much every single manager has had a falling out with a major player. When Mourinho was in charge, there was a lot of tension between him and Paul Pogba. The two had a difficult relationship that actually ended with Pogba being stripped of his vice captaincy in September of 2018. Reportedly, Mourinho told Pogba that he would never captain a side again, as he was concerned about the Frenchman's attitude. Then with Ten Hag, he fell out with Sancho and Ronaldo. Sancho and Ronaldo were signings that were made under Ole. They were brought in to help Manchester United make a title push after finishing second the season before. But guess what happened when Ole, the man who wanted the two players, was sacked? It meant that the new manager, Ten Hag, is now stuck with two players on high wages who didn't fit his style of play. Despite Ronaldo being United's top scorer the season before, Ten Hag did not see him as part of his plan. He wanted his striker to be able to press and constantly move off the ball, which, let's be honest, Ronaldo wasn't going to do when he was practically pushing 40. Sancho wasn't given that much playing time, but he did not shine at all in the few opportunities he received. Keep in mind, Ten Hag was actually quite nice in the beginning to the freedom fighter. He even gave him time off to get better with his mental health. Tension increased between the players and Ten Hag, resulting in both of those guys leaving the club. Under Amorim, the trend has continued. Just this time it's between Amorim and Rashford. The Portuguese manager came in, and like all the other managers before him, he wanted to instill discipline. He dropped Rashford from the squad entirely after being informed that the Englishman had been on a night out before a match. The United coach, understandably, does not want his players in bars so close to games. Amorim should really check where Onana is the night before matches, because sometimes this guy plays like he's drunk. Anyways, Amorim asked Rashford about his movements the night before the match, and the England international assured Amorim that he had been misinformed about a late night. 3 days later, however, Rashford was left out of the starting lineup for the trip to Arsenal. It was a huge statement from Amorim, and he made it clear that it had nothing to do with Rashford's talent, but rather his attitude. Now, Sir Alex Ferguson also had a rocky relationship with some players over the years, but the difference was that Ferguson had full authority in the locker room. He was bigger and more powerful than any of the players, so it meant that in any dispute, Ferguson was always going to win.
We are a better team with Marcus Rashford, and that is clear. He's a big talent, but until the right moment, I will not change my mind, that's all. And it's always the same answer.
Nowadays, that sort of authority is not visible at all. The majority of players are prima donnas, and they know that if the manager doesn't like them, then all they have to do is wait it out, because there's a much higher likelihood that the manager gets sacked than the player being sold. Look at Sancho. He went out on loan to Chelsea, and then Ten Hag was sacked. Something like this would never happen at United under Sir Alex Ferguson. Number one, because Sir Alex Ferguson was the GOAT, but number two, the other players in the squad had too much respect for Sir Alex to let another player act up like that. It helped, of course, that United had leaders everywhere. Leaders who held other players accountable. That doesn't exist in the club anymore. Even the current captain has been criticized for his lack of leadership.
When I listen to Bruno, now, and I've been harsh on Bruno, an amazing player, but I still have question marks about his leadership, even when I watched him there in the bigger picture, and he's doing his usual stuff.
You could see in the 2025 season that even Amorim was shocked by how bad the team was. I think a lot of managers look at United from the outside and think that with some tweaks they can begin the rebuild. Or maybe many of them want to be known as the guy that returned United back to glory. Because to this day, I still don't understand why these guys come to a place that has become a graveyard for careers. Not just for players, but now for managers. Look at Amorim's reactions. He can't believe the stuff he's seeing. He can't believe how poor the quality is. The individual errors, many of them for no reason. Goals given away for free. Basic passes missed. He's gonna be bald as Ten Hag when it's all said and done. The poor guy came in with so much joy, and then each interview now, you see the energy draining from his eyes. Nobody can tell you where United are going. As I stated, every week seems to be a new low point. You hope that Amorim can get the right profile of players that he wants and gets the club back on track, but history is against him. The one bright spot for this club though has been Amad Diallo. To see how good he has been, you gotta check out this video right here.